Thanks for joining me, Mary. I'm Corey from the Learning House. Mary has joined me here from All About Learning Press. All About Learning provides us with All About Reading and All About Spelling. These are some of our most popular materials for helping students to read and to spell. And Mary's here to give us an overview of these resources today so that you can decide whether this is the right resource for your family. And she's also going to give us some of the nuts and bolts about how it's used, because we get a lot of questions about making sure that we are using it right, how a day is supposed to look, what pieces I need. And we want to make sure that we answer as many of those questions for you today so that you can get the resources you need and not take home things that you don't need, and do the best at tailoring this to your kids' needs and making sure that you have the best experience with these resources. So thanks for joining me, Mary. I really appreciate
thanks for having me.
You. Would you just give us quickly to start an overview of what All About Learning provides and how that would benefit our students?
Sure. So All About Reading really takes kids from reading beginning words like tap all the way up to high school level word attack skills. So it's really a complete phonics program that walks them through step by step how to read words, how to approach them and break them down and be able to sound them out, and really gives them the skills to be able to read any word. So it's based on the Orton-Gillingham approach. So it uses multisensory methods. We incorporate sight, sound, and touch in every lesson. And the lessons are really incremental and step-by-step so that kids know exactly what they need to do and how to approach things, so there's no gaps along the way. So we really focus on making reading easy to teach and easy to learn. So on the easy to teach side, we have scripted lesson plans so that parents don't have to have prior training or experience, and they really know what to say and do each day, and they don't have to plan out or do lesson plans. They can just open that teacher's manual and walk through the lesson.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Now, you've covered some of this, but tell me, what makes All About Reading unique? Why would I use this program as opposed to a lot of other programs that are out there that are probably very good as well?
Yeah, so one thing that makes All About Reading unique is really that Orton-Gillingham approach, where the lessons are, as I mentioned, multisensory, incremental. It's mastery-based, so it helps students to master things along the way. The lessons are cumulative and explicit, again, so that kids don't have to guess at what to do. And then I think that easy to teach piece is also something that makes it really unique, so that parents don't have to come with a lot of knowledge or a lot of training, and it really breaks things down.
Or a repertoire of other activities.
Right. Yeah. So it really takes that Orton-Gillingham approach and makes it usable and approachable for parents.
Okay. So who would benefit from an All About Reading program, and who is this program not for?
Oh, great question. So as far as who would benefit, we've seen it used for all kinds of learners, whether they're struggling with dyslexia or ADHD or autism or another type of issue, all the way up to gifted learners. So we've had kids that have gone through all 4 levels in a year, which always just amazes me. I'm like, how can that be possible?
That's right.
So, and then we've had, kids that might take 2 years on level 1 because they really need a lot of practice and review woven in. So it really can work for a broad range of learners. I would say who it's not for is definitely not for anybody who wants an independent program that the child could do without parent help. This is definitely one that parents will be involved in. So, and then beyond that, sometimes it comes down to either personal preference or maybe the student's either preferences or what they're struggling with, or the parent's style. Sometimes it can be a style issue that will make it not a fit for somebody.
I know that sometimes we have families who say, my kid just does not want to play games and do activities or do that hands-on. They really love getting a book out and writing in it. And so that they're the kids that are not going to thrive with, I'm moving letter tiles around, I'm using all of these different sensory approaches. So
Yeah, we do
okay.
sometimes have people that mix the approaches, and so they might do because the activities in the activity book, some of those are optional, and so sometimes they'll just focus on the fluency pages that are in the activity book and not do those other hands-on activities for a student like that. So, but yeah, it really just depends on, like you said, some of that approach and style.
Okay, super helpful. Let's talk about some of, well, first of all, you mentioned that this can be both for struggling learners and gifted students. How would I tailor this for a kid who is struggling versus a student who is really gifted and moving and could move through the program? Are they going to have to get bogged down with extra pieces?
So for that gifted student, you really can sometimes focus on just working through the lesson concept and then doing a little bit of the activity book and moving on to the next lesson. And sometimes those kids are able to do a lesson a day in 20 minutes. For that struggling student, they might spend a week or two on a lesson, and they might just do a small section because they're having to work so hard at sounding things out, and they need more practice with the letter tiles or more practice with one of the activities. So, being able to focus on just doing a short time every day and just get however far your student gets and go at their pace and keep encouraging them. So, it really allows you to move at their pace. The review box allows you to customize the review. So if you've got a gifted student, they might not need much review at all. And if you've got a struggling student, they might need a lot of review every day.
I'll show you a little bit of what we got there.
So yeah, that review box really lets you customize and focus on the things that your student needs to review without having to waste time on things that they already know.
Right. Right. I love that idea of helping them not to waste time on things that they already know.
Yeah.
So helpful for a kid that is striving, because we just always want to see our kids succeed but not be bored.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And then we also are not loading them up with too much if they are struggling. We're just going to sit and work on it at the pace that they need.
Right.
And we do see families who have kids that go through level 1, 2, and 3 in 1 year, and other kids who need to take 3 years to go through a level. And we even have a mom on staff who has some kids that have that currently she's been working through these levels with them for many years, who have she's got kids that have various struggles, and she just keeps on working through them, and they see incremental gains, and that's the positive.
And you really have to celebrate those gains. When kids are grown up, nobody's going to know whether they took 1 year or 5 years, to do something. They won't know when they memorize their times tables, or all these things that just weigh on our hearts as parents so much.
Right. I'm often asking that questions to moms and dads as we do consultations. That I read a book years ago, and it's out of print now, but the question asked in this book is, what do you want to say about these kids when they're 30? And I don't know anybody who says, I'm going to make sure that they passed all their science tests in grade 3. Right? Like, it doesn't matter as much that as some big picture things, some of those soft skills and those values and those characters, but also that we did reach the finish line. And it doesn't matter whether we reach the finish line for various skills at a preordained, placement grid. So our kids can take longer or shorter, and it doesn't matter if they arrived there a little bit later than standard.
Yeah, and that's why we homeschool, really.
Yeah, for sure. So preaching to the choir here. Okay. And so that's one of the things I really love about this approach, that we can use this to tailor to our students the time that they need to spend on any given lesson. So tell me, one of the big questions we have from parents is, where do we start? Where do people begin with All About Reading or All About Spelling?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, for both programs, we actually have placement tests that you can use. So Learning House can give you those placement tests. For reading, it's really important to use those because maybe you have an older student who's able to start in one of the higher levels, and the placement test will really help you be able to see that. For the spelling side of things, almost all kids are going to start in level 1 or possibly level 2. All About Spelling is really a building block style program, and the concepts that they learn in level 1 are foundational for what they're going to learn in level 2, and that's foundational for level 3, and so on. So it's really important for kids to have all that background knowledge. So, and even if they're an older student, we often find that older students who struggle with spelling really have gaps from level 1 and need to work through some of those beginning levels. So they might go quickly for an older student, and you can certainly fast track and get through, more than one level in a year for some of those older kids, but it really lays an important foundation.
Very good. Very good. And maybe what I'll do is just give a quick show of what is. I'm trying to share my screen, and I was doing that. I lost my share. Where's my share? There we are. There we go. I think, is that sharing there for you?
It is, yeah.
No? Okay. So if just referring to those placement tests, if you go onto our website and you will find drop downs before you even hit go, you should be able to see various categories. And if I choose All About Reading, you will get all of the different items. And the first item that comes up here is All About Reading, about All About Reading. But on any of these, you should be able to look and find resources. And we always share with people any resources that the publisher will give us. All About Learning has given us a lot of really good stuff, like placement guides and scopes and sequences and samples. And in this case, we have a placement test here. And I think I gotta switch to this one here. And you can go through this placement test that Mary was referring to help to decide where your student fits into this program, so that we can give them something that is going to be successful for them.
Great.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing there. I've lost my screen here, sorry a second. Okay, so that's sort of how to get the nuts and bolts of where to start, but what do I need? Now I've decided I need level 2 of All About Reading. What do I need? And should I also be starting spelling at the same time? So what do I need when I decide that my child doesn't need to start at level 1, they need to start at level 2?
Okay, so for level 2, you're going to get that level 2 kit from Learning House, which has all of the main items that are needed for level 2. It has a teacher's manual.
I'm holding level 3. So,
okay. But
I have it all together in a bundle.
There you go. Yeah.
You'll get them together in a bundle, whether it's level 1, 2, 3, or 4, or the pre-reading level.
Yeah. And it has the decodable readers that go along with all the lessons. It has the activity book and the flashcards. So all of that comes, and even stickers for your progress chart.
And
so it has, so it has all the items that you need for level 3 or level 2, wherever you're starting. And then if you're new to All About Reading, you will also need either the physical letter tiles or the letter tiles app. And you will need the review box with divider cards.
Right.
And the review box really helps you set up that customizable review system that we were talking about before. So, and there's the letter tiles.
Yeah.
So, and the letter tiles come with magnets so that you can put them on a magnetic whiteboard and have them set up. And it's really a fun interactive tool for kids to practice those concepts that they're learning.
Okay.
So, and the review box and the letter tiles are a one-time purchase. So you won't need new sets of those with each level. If you have additional children using the program, you'll want a review box and divider cards for each child.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to have my bundle or my kit that has teacher guide, student book, and all the little bits and pieces. I'm buying the letter tiles separately, and I'm going to get a review box with the dividers, or I'm going to get just the dividers. I've actually pulled out the spelling one here, so that's a little bit different, but similar.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And so then when we go into the next level, do I need to buy just the kit, or do I need to buy extra pieces?
No, when you move to the next level, you'll just need the kit then.
Okay. And when I have the next student coming and using it, do I need to buy more letter tiles or more divider cards?
So for the next student, you probably won't need more letter tiles. Most families just share that one set, and but you will want a new box for that student to organize their review system.
Okay. Okay. And we had, I really love the look of this book, because even for the teacher manual, it's all in color and it walks us through the lessons. And maybe I'll start a little bit further back, but the lesson is telling me our objectives, what we'll need, and before we begin, a preview of what's happening. And I just love this scripted part. Hold up this card and say this. It's so great, so useful. And again, here's our new teaching. It tells me, set these letters out looking like this and point to each letter and say this. And it's just so much. I mean, as a mom, when I started homeschooling my kids, and we've gotten past that learn to read stage with my kids, I knew I wanted to have these children read, and I loved reading, and I knew that they could love to read, but the steps, like what step do I have to take to be able to have somebody walk me through, like, put this here and point to it and say, it would have been so helpful, and really eliminates some of that guesswork and that frustration. So, yeah. And then we can enjoy this process with our kids rather than spend our weekends going, okay, what else do I need to do? So right, I really love that.
Well, okay. And I love that what you said about focusing on enjoying this with our students. Sometimes learning to read and learning to spell are they're frustrating subjects. And, we really do as much as we can to make them easy to teach and easy to learn. But yeah, if you can just try to focus on encouraging your child and letting them know that they're going to get it, and making it a joyful process. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long does it take for me to do a lesson? What's like rubber to the road feel like when I'm doing All About Reading with my kids?
Yeah, great question. So we recommend focusing on about 20 minutes a day. We find that short daily lessons tends to produce better long-term retention than longer but fewer sessions. When you do a longer session, you lose their attention span. And if their attention span is wandering, you're going to end up with gaps in what they remember. So you really want to focus on those short daily lessons. And, if it's a short, easy lesson, it might only take a day or two to get through. Or if you have a struggling learner, it might take a week or two to get through a lesson. So we always recommend work at your student's pace and make it doable for your child.
And that's it. We're often working with families who have students that struggle. And while All About Reading is not just for students who struggle, it works really well for many of those kids who are just not following a linear path for their learning. And so moms and dads will say, I couldn't sit for 20 minutes with this kid. I can't get their attention for 5 minutes. And we know that it will be a phenomenal accomplishment to spend that 5 minutes a day and to work our way up to 6 minutes, and then to 8 minutes, and then to 12, and to 15, and to 20. And that those are really big accomplishments for those kids, and that that can still be very productive time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We always start where your child is and move on. And one of the things that's built into both All About Reading and All About Spelling is that you get to change what the activity is every few minutes. So maybe you're starting with the letter tiles and then you're walking through a lesson and you're pulling out an activity sheet to do. So sometimes that can help those kids that really struggle with that attention span,
mhm,
to be able to help
mhm.
them. So
Yeah,
I've had
to
parents tell
attend
me they have
longer.
their child use a mini trampoline or an office chair as part of their lesson. So maybe they spin on the office chair, read a word, spin again, read a word. You can
Yeah,
incorporate
yeah,
movement with the lessons and
so
to try
good.
to engage. Yeah.
So good. That's great. Um, we're running low on time here, but I want to make sure that we cover a couple of other things. When do I
Yeah.
start All About Spelling with my child? So, say we did decide we don't need to, well, tell me just in general, when do I start All About Spelling?
Sure. So for most kids, you'll want to start after they have completed All About Reading 1 or their reading level. If you have an older student, their reading level is at least beyond All About Reading level 1, because that
Mhm.
program lays some foundational skills that are important for spelling.
Okay.
If you have a really young student, you can wait
Mhm.
longer. You don't have to start spelling right after All About Reading 1. You can wait until they're a little bit older and have those handwriting skills in place. But as
Mhm.
a general principle, anytime after All About Reading 1, they can start spelling.
Okay. And how do I know what level to do All About Spelling at as well?
Yeah, so for All About Spelling, we also have a placement test. There's a one-page flow chart that'll help you know if your child is ready for spelling and can also help you know if your child is beyond level 1 and can start at level 2. So
Okay.
almost all kids are going to start at either level 1 or possibly level 2, depending on what spelling rules that they already are familiar with. So sometimes kids already know how to spell easy words like cat, but they don't know some of the underlying principles, like why does cat start with a C instead of a K? And
Mhm.
All About Spelling 1 is really going to teach those principles.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
most of the time you'll start with 1, but sometimes they can start with 2.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Any tips or things that we should keep in mind when we're looking into this program or starting that? Any parting thoughts for us?
Yeah, I just like to say, think about it as a marathon rather than a sprint. So our
Uh huh.
kids
Agreed.
need a lot of encouragement, especially if you have struggling learners, and our parents need a lot of encouragement. It's hard work
Mhm.
sometimes to teach kids that are struggling, and just celebrate all those wins along the way, and know that sometimes it does take time, but they'll get there.
Mhm.
So just keep
Mhm.
encouraging them and working
Mhm.
as you go.
Very good. Very good. You did share with me, Mary, and we're going to have this up in various spots on our website, some phenomenal resources that you and your team have assembled from All About Learning Press, a resource guide with general information about All About Reading and Spelling, links to your blog and freebies, some information about each particular program, pre-reading and reading, spelling, and about the letter tiles and letter tiles apps, and some really good links here. I was looking through some of these for struggling learners and students with disabilities. So some of these things are really great. And we know that a lot of families come to All About Learning after having tried many other things that didn't work, and that they can see success for a student that just learns differently. So
Yeah.
that's a great resource. We're going to share that with families here. And I really appreciate you joining me and making sure that we've had a good introduction. And hopefully, we've answered questions for our parents. But our families know, and I want to reiterate that they can always get in touch with us at learninghouse.ca. We want to make sure that we can answer any questions that you have to be sure that this is the right program for you and that you get the right pieces, that you don't go home with the wrong pieces. We don't want you to buy stuff you don't need. We want to save you money that way. So call us email us, message us, get on our website, let us know if you have other questions, and we will help you to find those, or we'll call up Mary and make sure that she helps us to find those answers. You guys and your team there at All About Learning have been phenomenal about responding when we've had questions and requests from customers, from homeschooling families as well as from schools, and we really appreciate that, and the relationship and the way that you guys have just put so much heart into making these resources available for families and making a real change and a real difference in many, 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 many students' lives.
Well, thank you, and appreciate you having us today, and we just appreciate all that you're doing up at Learning House.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you.